Hello everyone, this is Kenty Tiger here with Bengali Engineering in Play. We are back in Space Engineers. Off screen, I have spent a little bit of time, how shall I say, re-engineering an engineering screw-up. So there were two of them, in fact. One is, as I quickly discovered, I ran out of storage. So I was pirating pirate ships. There's some irony there for you. And I discovered I had this strange looping thing going on. And I was all like, wait a minute, the pull-in system was entirely independent. Of course, wrong. Not entirely independent. And here's why. Probably some of you saw it while I did it and were saying, oh, well, this guy's an idiot. So I wanted to put the system together over here. And so I literally ran junctions right next to each other. And, well, junctions are junctions. So, oops. So what I ended up doing is re-engineering. I took those two out. I put one over here. Now the systems are entirely independent. So I actually provided 8 connection points for these supposedly independent systems, and ended up creating big loops, big sorting loops. So I fixed that. So that's all fixed. All 4 are fixed. Now, storage problems, well, storage problems are storage problems, right? So not really any way around the storage problems other than to put more storage in. So to that end, I added, so there's these platforms here on the outside corners that were on the bottom that were in the entire engineering section underneath. I ended up adding some more framing and such up top, and ended up putting more containers up. This whole row on both sides is containers. What did that do for me? Well, it actually let me finish what I needed to finish. So I deconstructed the last of the ships that I had in here that I did off screen, and it worked out. It worked out fairly well. So what did I learn in the process is that it is amazing how quickly you can run out of room. And number 2 is that the refineries can, even with the yield modules, because the yield modules are not speed modules, even with the refineries running full tilt, you can really end up with some constraints. So anyway, the good news is we have an incredible spattering. Let me go ahead and we got one right here. Let's go ahead and have a look. We have an incredible spattering of materials here. We have okay, so we have a little bit of gold ore left, and quite a bit of uranium ore left, which is slowly being refined, and then we ended up with just a boatload of all these different ores. How did I do that? Well, I took a miner, one of the ships that I dismantled. Let me demonstrate. So this great big huge monstrosity here, let me not actually paste it in the world, but paste it in the world here so you can see it. Alright, let's see, there we go, line it up. So this monstrosity here is a pretty amazing machine. Now, will you run out of hydrogen as you're playing around? Yeah. But it is vanilla. It is an extremely effective miner. The idea behind it, there's 196 drills on the front of it. The idea was that you take an entire asteroid at a time. So it just totally lays waste to anything. Now, it's a little bit of a patience game because obviously mining is mining. But all large drills on the front. Again, it's a vanilla miner. Does it have a lot going for it? Absolutely. In fact, let's go ahead and we'll just paste this in the world here. What I want to make sure of is that the whole, darn it, control panel. Yeah, everything is me. So if we do the inventory, so I'm going to hide empty here. We have a lot of materials here. So iron and uranium. I think I had to have been mining through iron and uranium somewhere. So lots of ice here and lots of iron and uranium. In fact, let me back off a little bit from this. We'll go up top side here, and one of the things you notice is that I actually have a list here of the different ores that are here. So in this case, iron, there's 2.7 million units. I'm not sure what they are, kilograms of iron, 6.7 million kilograms of uranium, and then 1.9 of ice. So obviously quite a bit of materials here. What will that actually refine down to? There's a ratio. So the yield, the yield modules obviously will change that ratio pretty dramatically. But in any case, there is all of this stuff used. So what do I have on this particular beastie is 18.5 million liters of capacity, and I'm using about 4.1 million liters of that. So anyway, what I did was I pasted this in World, played with it a little bit, and then dismantled it. And so what happened in the process of all of this, with spotlights and everything, all of those materials, not only do you have all the components, but you also have all of these materials that end up being dismantled and put into the world. So storage eventually becomes a big issue. And you know, one would think that, hey, there's you know, 6-7 containers on here, and there's a bazillion containers on here, so why was that a problem? Well, don't know. It became a problem. So anyway, if we look here, you know what? I did not put one of those anywhere, but let's go ahead and, for the sake of having done so, we'll put one in the centers so we can see a cargo status. There we go. For I think I made these black. Alright, we're going to turn off this particular thing. This is going to be cargo status. So, sorry, just because again, this is an OCD thing, sorry. This is 1A, is this whole panel here, or this panel assembly. So we're going to do the same thing here, 1A, and this is cargo status. And to make MMaster discuss this thing is going to be LCD. Alright, so what am I doing here? I'm going to zoom over to this side, and that's, I'll show you why. Flip, flip. Alright, okay, so this is 1B. Okay, so this is 1B cargo status LCD. Oops. Okay, LCD. LCD. And here's why I wanted to do the changeover to me once. Alright. So, custom data. Let's do a center cargo status and cargo. So if all goes well, this will change in a few seconds. There we go. Alright, cargo status, cargo used. Custom data. Give me half a second. I'm going to go off screen. There's two. Whoops. There's two commands that MMaster scripts use. There is mass and there is okay, there's mass and there's ship mass. So ship mass displays the total mass of the ship. Optionally, it can be it can also display as a percentage with a progress bar if you specify maximum mass. Display the mass of items in selected blocks. If you want the total mass of the ship, you can use commands, commands, ship mass, and ship mass base. Ship mass base, base mass of the ship without the mass of the items in containers or other blocks. Containers on the ship at the station. Okay, so so getting back into this, going to be creative here. So center station dead weight. I don't want to talk down to anybody, but if you're not familiar with the term dead weight, what that means is in design engineering, let's say you're building a building. That building, the materials, the carpeting, the desks, the dressers, that building, the weight of the building itself is called dead weight. Okay, so that is a dead weight measurement. Why do we consider dead weight? When you are doing structural engineering design, you have to take into account weight. Okay, everything has a breaking point. So you're designing something to be able to hold a certain amount of weight, right? however the design structure, a parking garage, whatever, you need to design things with a particular weight in mind. Dead weight is important because that structure also has to support itself. Okay? I know that sounds really silly when you're talking about, well, obviously it's going to hold it, but no, it's not necessarily obvious. You have to calculate all this in when you're doing your design engineering specifications. So, dead weight. A structure has a dead weight. The differential between dead weight and death weight is the capacity of live weight, which is really to say the active weight that that building can hold before it crumbles and falls down. Okay, so dead weight versus death weight. Death weight, not a standard term, obviously. Okay, so here's what I want to do is ship mass base. Two S's in mass. So station dead weight, I just wanted to show that. We're going to put an echo here. The cargo status, another echo. Echo is, for those of you who program, know that is typically a blank line. So when you are outputting to a display, echo is blank line, or echo nothing rather is blank line. Okay, so again, center cargo, cargo total mass and mass. Okay, so this should be interesting. I'm actually really curious as to what this is going to show. Apparently there's a lot of things to update, so something's not, maybe something's not right. There we go. Haha. 35. Is this kilograms? What is this? No arguments. Third argument, override metric unit of preference of max mass. Oh, okay. So, apparently, this is in grams. So, if I wanted this to specify in kilograms, default prefix is K, as in kilograms. Okay, so this is kilograms. So, that would be 35 billion kilograms. That's a lot of mass. Of course, as you can see, we have 188.5 million liters capacity, and we are at about 20% of that capacity. So what I do need to do is change one thing, and that white is really obnoxious. So I think I'm going to subdue this a little bit. I want to go 0.8, so those letters are not quite as large. 2. All right, so not quite as holy shit white. So I'm just, what I'm doing is reading here. Without a progress bar, P with a progress, without progress, without value. Alright, so what I do is I want to change this a little bit here. Don't know if that's going to screw me up or not. The other things that I want to do, I'm just trying to see, trying to read a little bit about ship mass with a project bar. Alright, so I really don't need, okay, ship mass base, that's no biggie. Alright. Over to here and let's see what this says. So the cargo mass there, ship base mass is 0. It's kind of strange. Base mass of the ship without the mass of the items in containers. Okay, I think the reason that shows 0 is because, okay, for example, if I go into info, why am I seeing different information here? Not the information I was expecting. There we go. Okay, so when this is a station, then the grid mass automatically goes to 0. So what I'm guessing is what ship mass base actually is that it is just the weight of the ship when it's in ship mode. So because the grid mass is 0, I think is why it's returning the 0. It would be my guess. Now the cargo total mass there is really putting a percentage on it, I think, is probably both arbitrary and pointless, because do we really have a need to do that? So what does the T colon mean? So cargo star means everything, every container. So including things that are not called containers. So it's the total storage capacity. What is T? T tells the script to only look at this grid. So if I were to bring a miner, and attach on, then all of a sudden the cargo status would change if I just had a star here. And the reason it would change is because I changed, I have other capacities on a connected grid, but it is a connected grid. It is not part of the grid. So the T says only look at this grid, T colon. So T colon star, T colon asterisk, and the same thing down here. So that's what that's all about. So I'm going to remove that designator, which will make things without the progress bar, because the progress bar is kind of arbitrary. So hopefully that will update itself. There we go. Total mass in kilograms, which is the default. So maybe we will do that. Let's go total mass in kilograms. Total mass in kilograms. There we go. Okay, and let me go ahead and go back in here. I know I'm bouncing in and out. So this is a Control A and a Control C. And the reason I did that is because, oh hey, we put a whole bunch more containers. Alright, make sure I am all me. These were the extra containers that were on the center line up there. And those go in containers, save, turn them off on the toolbar, and turn them off on that. 1B is the one I was working on. Okay, and let's look at 1B was 0.8 and 192s all the way down. So we want to mirror that to 0.8 and then 192, 192, and 192. And then we'll take those guys and put them into systems, computers, save, turn them off, turn them off. Alright, so what have we done? We've now got a station mass, which is kind of neat. The most important thing is how much storage do I have left? Well, there it is. I'm using 20% of my storage. And that's 20% after I've added these 100 containers up top. So that was engineering snafu there. I was thinking, hey, 24 containers, that's a lot of materials, huh? Nope. Alright, so just for giggles. And of course this number is going to be constantly changing because there's refining going on right now. So as the refineries do what they do, then things happen. You're gonna see a change in mass because a refined cargo, a refined ore weighs less than, rather the ingots weigh less than the ore. Okay, so I'm gonna write this number down. Why am I writing it down? Because I'm curious as to how much it's gonna change. So 35, 5, 5, 6, 3, 4, 7, 3, 6, 8, which is a whole lot of kilograms. Oops. We're going to go ahead and do a shift F5. And just for giggles, we are going to turn this into components. So paint this whole thing my grind color, and this is going to start getting ground down. There we go. So one of the things I discovered, so 160 160 build and repair systems, and with all the stuff that was happening, it actually didn't get hideously laggy until I ran out of storage. And then all of those build and repair units are trying to put material somewhere. And so if I'm guesstimating what's happening, is it puts out a where is some storage because I need to move stuff. And it does the query, and the query comes out 0, and it comes back and tries to do it again, and it's the same thing. So every time it does that query, and then you have 160 of these doing a query trying to find space, and no space. I found that to be the point where I got just absolutely absurdly laggy, to the point where the game was really not playable. But as you can see right now, I'm moving around fairly well, no issues to speak of, even though this has pulled in a lot of new material. A couple little stutters here and there. And this is running dual GTX 970s, so nothing really impressive. I'm not on the new machine yet. All right, so that was all of that gone. Okay, and then we come back over here. I want to see what this says. 37 billion. And of course, that did have ore in it, which is going to be, running into the refineries. All right, so I got to write that number down. 37 949039. Of course, that's going down as I go. 738. So that's pretty impressive. About 2.5 billion kilograms differential for all the components and everything. So definitely not a bad thing. Interestingly enough, no explosives and no thruster components. I don't know why that is. That's really kind of strange. I don't know if those are... Maybe I just haven't put a bazillion ion thrusters out here. Let us test that theory. Let me go to 8. G. Let me find blocks. Ion thrusters. So that's a large ion thruster. And 337. Alright. So that did change. Okay. So I guess I just haven't ripped down any ion thrusters. That's kind of strange. Alright, so what is a realistic number for stuff? So let me go into this just for fun. So in my custom data, I have this set up as 500,000. So let's just see what our default values are. And MMaster picked some default values, and we'll see what those are here in a moment. So 50,000, 15,000, 55,000, 300,000, 3.3, 26K, 500 displays. So I really don't know what the baseline numbers, why M-Master picked the numbers that he did. Certainly they're reasonable, but you know, what are you building with all of this stuff? So I think I'll leave it at 500. Whether or not that's realistic or not, I can't really say, but so even though most of those are not showing anything. Explosives. So what can we do to get that explosives count up by a slight little bit? Warhead cluster originals. So over the course of time, I've done a lot of playing and experimenting. Where's maintenance station? Drill. And just playing around. Obviously, what you know, in a sandbox game, it's all about experimenting and having a good time, right? So, large warhead cluster. So, let me spin this around for you. What do you see? Well, we have literally. Oh, that was unexpected. So we have a reactor in there for power. We have. I'm trying to think of what's in there. I think we just have a reactor for power and a big ion, or a small ion thruster. So the idea was you would arm this thing, and then you would push the proverbial button, and there's another reactor and stuff. And then that thing would scream forward on a single line because it's only got one thruster, right? And there's probably a gyro in there to keep it fairly squared away. And off it goes, and whatever it hits, that thing detonates, and oh my god, what a mess. So what I used that for, just playing around, is I ended up on a big stone asteroid, and I just stood in one place out in space and would basically spawn one of those things, launch it, spawn another one, launch it, spawn another one, launch it. I literally put a hole through the center of this asteroid just because. There was no reason. It was just I wanted to see if I could do it, and it was like probably 120, 130 meters across, I would guess. So not a tiny asteroid by any means, but not massively huge or anything. So it was a lot of fun. It was just experimenting and figuring out, okay, how do I get this thing to do what I want it to do, and that sort of thing. So let's see what we got. We should have said explosives now at 1.9K. Yeah, not a bad thing. All right, so not a whole lot of displays here, and I'm not sure why that is. Of course, how many displays do you really need? Certainly got a lot of steel plate, a lot of everything. I think we would have really a very successful time in doing this. So, for example, let us go over here and so let's turn this back on. So the first thing I'm going to do on my toolbar here, so I'm on toolbar number 8, and these are symmetrical, so the one inside the habitat is going to look identical to this one. And number 9, which turns on my projector. Okay, so this is the miner. Okay, so this is that large miner. Now, why did I pick the large miner as something to put into this behemoth? 2 reasons. It is a large miner. Now, could people use this for anything? Possibly, so it's kind of a freebie. I don't know that I would ever post this thing on the workshop otherwise. I mean, it was fun. But given its just gargantuan size, is it really a practical monstrosity? I don't know, and that's really kind of up to your own personal preference. All right, so we have this projected image here, and I'm going to punch the magic 3 button, which should start building this thing. And then I'm going to jump out of the chair because I want to watch. Okay, definitely got some laggies going on there, which isn't unexpected. So some of this is a drill to see how fast these 160 build and repair systems can build this thing, and it's actually building pretty quickly. So one of the things that this, well, let me back up a step. When I build something, especially something that's a monstrosity like this thing, I try to build with practicality in mind. How much gravel do you really need? And the answer to that is, well, not very much for the most part. Certainly you need some. Reactors need gravel. Why they need gravel, I'm not really sure, but you do need a little bit of gravel. So it looks like it's done. So here's one of the problems: is this guy has no hydrogen. And I saw the reactor on the other side, and it does not have any uranium either. So it basically has the batteries, which I'm not even sure where the batteries are all up here, and batteries are almost dead. Let me go over here just for fun. I do not know. Sorry, let's go into ice. Ice. I definitely don't want to steal any from my generators. Container, ice, storage. Alright, so I'm full of ice. Oops. Connector over here. Oh wait, what happened? I think we're having the glitch again where you can't select anything. That's really frustrating. Yeah, that's going to be gone really, really quickly. Haha. Alright, well, uranium is our next, well, we had just a tiny, tiny bit, and my guess is that's going to be all burned out by the time it's done. Damn it. There we go. Alright, oh, we do have quite a bit of ice. Booting. Alright, now that I'm in here, actually, I might not have ice. So I might need to change these because so here's the bottom line is all of this information includes the station which was not intended. Having said that, what I don't know, Shift F5, we'll wait for that to complete. And then what we're going to do is paint that block the grind color. Alright, and we are definitely no power. So what we want to do here is not T, then a K, and we go to Projector, and we're going to turn the projector off. back out of this. So, yeah, no power. So we have an upper and lower connector on this thing, and what are these down here? Well, there is a system which pulls in stone, and then these are the ejectors for the stone. So it basically gets rid of stone. That's what all these sorters here are doing. Why did I use so many sorters? Volume. Okay, the sorters are only so big, so having 4 sorters here doing the work made it possible to somewhat keep up with these things. So that was the whole goal. All right. So having done that, we demonstrated that this thing could build with no issues. So we're going to go ahead and dismantle the same thing. Okay, so we built it, and now we're going to dismantle it. Actually dismantles fairly fast. So anyway, valid test, just to see what this thing could do and what it can't do. So that was the fun part. So proof of concept, the Shipyard does definitely work. At least I think it works. Has a lot of interesting features, a lot of things that were broken that I think we have fixed. So I think what I'm going to do from here is actually post this on the workshop. Back off just enough to make this visible. So is this the neatest creation since sliced bread? Probably not, but actually pretty proud of it. This will be the only the only Shipyard that I have on my my workshop at this point. I probably will not post the other one because the other one has a lot of Kenti blocks in it, and changing those Kenti blocks out for something else would be a little problematic. Having to dismantle most of it. So the 3 mods that this contains, just to go over that at the very end, the 3 mods that this contains is this scaffolding mod, which I use for an awful lot of builds. It also has, obviously because the whole thing is based on this build and repair system, it has 160 of those, so obviously you have to have that build and repair mod for this to do anything. And the 3rd mod is M-Master's Automatic LCDs 2. Now, you don't have to subscribe to that mod. Scripts are unique because once they're loaded in, they become part of the build itself. Okay, so when you load this, you get that script with it. Now, even though you're not subscribed, it will be there and it will run. So that's the neat thing about scripts in the game, is that they become a part of the build, so you don't actually have to list them because they're there. So you don't have to subscribe to those particular things because they're already there. All right, so having said all that, I think this is where we will sign off. So this is Kenti Tiger. Thank you for joining me, and we will see you next time.